Guys, welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth. You got the four of us in here right now. Myself, Santino Maoni, Jacob Jarrett, Connor Armstrong, Peyton Marshall. We have a lot of stuff to get into today. We're going to tackle the World Cup group stages. A lot of upsets have happened there, so we're going to cover all that stuff. Plus USA's winner-go-home matchup against Iran tomorrow at, what was it, 2 p.m., Jacob, I believe?
Yep.
2 p.m. tomorrow, USA, Iran. Going to be a big one. A lot of NFL topics to get into. Going to discuss some MVP frontrunners who we think is the frontrunner for the MVP award right now. All that and more happening on the Cold Hard Truth, starting right now.
Are you crazy?
God, that's insane. Buddy, what are you doing? Boys, welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth. Again, you got all four of us here. How you guys feeling today, boys?
Energized, refreshed, ready to go.
Guys ready to go? Guys, you got your dinner in beforehand?
Yep, I had a burger and some soup, some pasta fagioli. It was pretty good. It was
Awesome.
homemade. Yep.
That's a nice combo.
Yeah, it was
Sounds
good.
good. Sounds good. Listen, we have a lot to get into. And Jacob, I want to go to you first because we're going to go start with the World Cup. Now, it's not normal that we have the World Cup going on in the winter, but it's happening right now just because of the shift. If they played in the summer in Qatar, they probably all would have gotten heat stroke with how hot it gets over there. But
For sure.
playing the World Cup right now in the winter, Jacob, what's been your favorite part of the World Cup so far? Give us a little insight.
First off, I know that, you usually kind of think about summer and hot weather with the World Cup, but I really don't mind it. I mean, it's kind of like for us in America, it's like we're just as used to the cold as the hot anyway, so it almost doesn't even make a difference for us, I feel like. But in terms of the tournament itself, there have been some unbelievable storylines, and I think you perfectly led me into my first question that I was going to ask you guys, which is that there's a really good chance that two of probably the top 5 or 6 world powerhouses that we've all grown to realize have a real chance of not making it to the group stages. And that is Belgium and Germany, especially Germany. I'm just going to read out the point situation real quick, just to refresh you guys and our viewers. But first with Germany, they're sitting in last in their group with their final game to play against Costa Rica. They have 1 point. Costa Rica and Japan have 3, and Spain has 4. So they're playing Costa Rica. So essentially they need Spain to beat Japan, and they have to beat Costa Rica, which of course is probably the most likely outcome, but
Yes.
you still need help. And for them to need help on a final match day is pretty crazy. Peyton, if you just want to talk about the fact that they don't have a win through these first 2 games,
I'm not really sure how to explain it. I don't know if I can find one thing to blame it on. The young star Musiala has been missing from the Germany squad. Their attacking side looks absolutely terrible. To lose against Japan, it was a fluke of a game, but still for Japan to stick with them for that long was kind of insane. I don't know, Jacob, if I can point one thing out specifically that I find wrong with this Germany team, because they're so well-rounded and they've been such a powerhouse. They won the World Cup 2 World Cups ago, if I remember correctly, with Mario Götze, but I don't know. I don't know if I can find one thing. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's defense. I don't know what it is. But honestly, kudos to Japan for staying in the game. More than anything, it's just showing that these undervalued, undernoticed teams really do have a chance to win this game if they can just stay with whatever team they're playing against, whether that be whoever beat Argentina. I forget exactly who it was. Saudi Arabia, whether it be Japan, whether it be Costa Rica, Ghana, all these teams that nobody ever talks about. If they keep their legs moving and they can stay in the game 0-0, they have a chance to pull off a win. And I think that's what we've seen. But again, I don't really have one thing to point out that would lead me to know why Germany is struggling so heavily.
Peyton, there's not one thing you could point out, but I'll say this. I mean, I would consider the World Cup probably to be the second, maybe even first, the most unpredictable, sporting, in terms of a championship, sporting event, a tournament wise, outside of March Madness. We can all agree this is probably the most unpredictable kind of event, and it's impossible to predict what's going to happen in these games. So yes, I know Germany has been a powerhouse. I mean, look back 2014 when they won the entire thing, beat the home team Brazil when they were hosting 7-1 in the semifinal match, and then knocked out Messi 1-0 in the championship. But anything can happen in the World Cup. So I don't even know if it's one specific thing. It's just the fact that this is the World Cup and anything goes, anything can happen.
I wouldn't say that it's unpredictable. I would agree slightly, but I'd say more so that the group stage is extremely unforgiving. If you come out flat and you lose your first couple games, you're done. And that's what we've seen with Germany so far. I don't think they're a bad side. I don't think that they're not still a powerhouse. I think that they've come out flat, and if they don't get going tomorrow, then that's that.
Well, my question, can we see a situation where they draw or don't get the help they need, and maybe Spain draws or anything like that?
I think no shot. I'll tell you this. I think Germany, it's tough to not say they're going to beat Costa Rica because I don't see how they don't beat them. Because again, I was expecting them to beat Japan. I was shocked when they lost that game. But again, tied that game. Or no, they tied Spain and lost to Japan, right?
Yes, they tied Spain yesterday.
So losing to Japan, that was not something I expected. I think they'll beat Costa Rica. Could I see a situation where maybe Japan miraculously upsets Spain? I'm not going to rule it out because they upset Germany, and Japan is a good squad. I don't anticipate that because Spain, they had one of the largest margin of victories. I think the most, the largest margin of victories. They did nothing over Costa Rica. That was insane. Yep. So I'd be dumbfounded if Spain ended up losing to Japan. But again, it's the group stages. Like Payne said, it's unforgiving. You could see a scenario where Germany, despite winning, we'll see what happens.
I'll let off my personal bias now, but I would take Spain as the favorites to win this World Cup besides Brazil. I think that they're the most well-rounded, not in an attacking sense, but in a midfield and defense sense. I think they're fantastic. And at this point, I think that the teams have got a chance to get warm. I really don't see a chance that Japan beats Spain. As long as Germany can, I honestly think that Germany might have a tougher time with Costa Rica than Spain will have with Japan. But
can I ask Jake? I want to ask you a question because Peyton was just talking about. Obviously, we've seen each team or almost every single, or no, not every single team play 2 games so far in the group stages. Did Spain were they looking like a powerhouse coming into the World Cup? Because right now they do, but I wasn't really hearing anything about they were going to make it out of the group stages, obviously, but there was nothing being said that this team was going to be some world-beating dominant powerhouse coming in, like teams like Argentina, Brazil, maybe even a France before they suffered all their injuries. But was Spain a powerhouse coming in your mind, or are they now becoming that?
I think Spain has a lot of guys. Well, first off, we already know. I mean, they have a really good balance of players that have the experience of playing in World Cups, especially in their midfield and defense. But I think the key for them is those younger guys that you really aren't sure whether they're going to perform have just been absolutely fantastic for them, stretching from the midfield, but especially in attack. They have guys, especially in La Liga, that really fly under the radar that aren't on these big teams, but are loyal to their home nation and play for their home nation. And they remind me a lot of, honestly, the 2014 German team that had that same type of combination. They had a Gomez and a Klose that were on the tail end of their career, kind of similar to the Busquets type player that's at the end of his career. But then they have this swarm of young guys. And at the time it was Götze, and at the time it was, whoever it may have been in the midfield. But now Spain has those guys that have kind of came in and are showing that. And truly for the World Cup, it may be soccer's biggest stage by far. But if the team collectively finds form, it doesn't matter how young a player is, because he's just going to feed off the energy of the players around him. Rather, in basketball, younger players who aren't succeeding in the playoffs, they have so much more pressure because they're taking shots. They're in one-on-one situations. Whereas soccer is even more so of a team game with really very little individual aspect, especially in today's day and age. Those younger guys are really feeding off the rest of the energy coming from the team.
I see what you're saying there too. And I think right now, outside of, because again, I mentioned a lot of other teams that do have some injuries they're struggling with. And before we move on to the USA-Iran game, because that's the main topic we want to get into, would you rank Spain as the overall favorites right now? I know we're only 2 games into the group stages, but would you take them over the field and say they are the ones that would be the favorites to win the entire thing right now?
I think it's still a bit hard to knock on Brazil. I think despite their 1-0 win yesterday, I think that Switzerland's a bit better side than people gave them credit for. And I think a 1-0 win is a more than okay result. And it really could have been 3-0, to be honest. So I think Brazil probably still slightly stay as my favorite. but I think Spain are right behind them. And as you mentioned, we will get to the USA game, but real quick, I mentioned before the Belgium situation, and we have to talk about them real quick.
Yeah.
Because they actually have a way more difficult path to succeeding, to advance, rather than Germany, who essentially controls basically their own destiny, assuming Spain gives them a result. Belgium, on the other hand, is going to play the best team in their group, Croatia, who have looked probably better than them. And if they draw, they'll need help, and they'll need Canada to beat Morocco. So
Morocco has looked sneaky good too.
They have,
so
yeah.
They
Canada
have
hasn't looked great.
Unbelievably difficult path because they need to win and they need help. Because if they win, then it's going to depend on what happens in the other games. So Croatia's a good,
really good team.
As far as I'm concerned, Croatia may just be as good as Belgium right now.
And we hear it every single day here.
I think Croatia is probably a bracket. I'd say you're right. You'd have to take. Obviously, I say my bias. Spain is my favorite, but Brazil and France are obviously the top two. I'd put Spain right below them in that bracket, and then Croatia probably a step under a team like Spain. But Croatia's a good team.
And from what I was hearing about Belgium, though, and what I read about them coming into the World Cup, they had a lot of young players, and they were a super talented young team that was expected to make noise in this World Cup. And now you're saying again they'd have a harder path out of their group. Because honestly, their group is more talented, I think, than Germany's group even is. Because outside of Spain, I wouldn't say Japan and I wouldn't say Japan is better than Croatia by any stretch. Croatia's better than both teams in there, and Morocco's probably just on that level. So it's going to be tough.
Well,
sorry, you first.
No, go ahead.
Well, Morocco's weird, but I wanted to go back to Pac's point about cohesion. I could not agree more. Like, especially in soccer, and it was a good point to make against basketball. Like, you have to play as a team. The teams that come in together on the same page, no matter what the standings say or what the stat sheet says or what the lineup say, if you're not on the same page, there's no way you win a game in the World Cup. There's no way. And I think that's what we've seen with Germany so far. But I just wanted to say that I completely agree with Pac that Spain especially just looks like a cohesive side that is together. And to go back to what you said, Tino, they were not favorites at the beginning of the World Cup, mainly because of their lack of attackers. Pac made the point that guys like Ansu Fati and guys like Morales have stepped up and made plays so far, but it really comes from their midfield. They play through the midfield and they play with a lot of strength and a lot of possession. So I just wanted to make that point about Spain, but you can go, Pac.
Yeah. Real quick before we move to USA, just Tino, you may have read slightly wrong because Belgium is more so prominent that they're actually probably one of the top couple oldest teams.
That's what I was going to say too.
I might have been thinking of a different team.
I think you were thinking of the Netherlands, honestly.
Probably one of those other European teams because Belgium's thing is honestly that this was supposed to be their last dance with the Kevin De Bruyne and those older center backs with Alderweireld, Vertonghen,
Hazard,
Courtois, Hazard. Those guys are aging, and they're probably aging right before our eyes right now. If I have to be honest, I don't think Belgium sees through on Thursday.
Me neither.
I could see them probably playing really, really attacking because they'll have to, and ending up in either a draw or like a 3-2 loss, even if they're going to push that far forward. Because they not only do they need to win, but they need goals too. So they're in a really tough situation.
So they have to win, and they have to get their goal differential to what to get through?
So I'm looking at it now.
Yeah.
If they win,
actually,
if they win, they are in. But if they tie, then they're going to need help because they're going to need Canada to beat Morocco outright. If Morocco even draws and they don't win, which are extremely possible outcomes, then they will not advance.
Well, so Belgium controls their own destiny, essentially, kind of the same thing with Germany. So we'll see if these two teams, who I think most people expected, again, despite the fact that I was wrong about the youth on that team, they are an older team.
Certainly expected to move out of that group.
Nothing.
To win that group,
both of these teams were expected to either win their groups or, again, just get out of the groups in general. So we'll see what happens with Germany and Belgium. Definitely two teams we could see getting knocked out. But Jacob, I'm going to let you pose the question because, again, USA is now, they are in a control their own destiny kind of situation. If they beat Iran, they are on to the next round. If they lose, they once again get knocked out of the group stages. I know they've had a lot of history of either losing right before, in the qualifiers to get to the World Cup, or they get knocked out in the group stages. I'll ask you this, will this be finally the year that they get back and get out of the group stages once again?
Well, a couple of things before we dive into the specific game tomorrow. First off, it's crazy to me because I watched the England game with about 12 to 15 buddies of mine from home. A lot of those guys aren't really big soccer fans. And Tino, I don't know if you kind of share this same hatred, but these guys are nauseated by the idea of a tie. They literally
hate it.
Can't quite wrap their head around the fact that a game could end in a tie.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
On one hand, I get it. But on the other hand, I'm trying to explain to them over and over, to draw England is a good result. They should have won the first game. Absolutely should have won that Wales game. A stupid penalty. Could have scored more. And quite frankly, we could talk all day about how they probably played better than England and could have beat them too. Mm-hmm. But you can't go home after that, watching that game, and like I have friends saying, "Oh, we suck. USA sucks. Like, how do you not win? Like, you tied 2 games in a row. Like,
they don't understand the circumstances at all."
Yeah. So yes, I get it. You'd like to see a winner, but the draw creates the storylines that we've been able to talk about. If we were just talking about wins and losses, then we probably wouldn't even have a fun match day 3 because we'd already know who won, because you'd have like the team that tied 1-1 and got upset is going to go win in penalties, and then it was like it never happened. And it's like that's the cool thing about it.
And Jacob, the big thing with the ties too is that like that's such a large aspect of the World Cup. It's such an important aspect of the World Cup, especially in group stages, because it happens all the time. Like we've seen it now. It's been happening very often so far. And even once, this is where I'm okay with ties. Once we get out of the group stages and we go into the next coming rounds, then it gets exciting. We get overtime, you get penalty kick, like you get PKs. Mm-hmm. That's when it gets really exciting. But I will say this to you. I hate ties with a passion, especially in football. I cannot stand them. But trust me, I know, not even being a soccer fan and not liking the sport that much, I knew the significance of being able to tie England, because I know that England has been a powerhouse in the past. They are an extremely talented team. And for USA, who's had the crappy history they've had year after year after year, disappointments, to be able to get a tie against England, that was impressive. The tie against Wales, different story. But against England, I did understand the significance. But I'll let you continue.
Yeah, I mean, Peyton, I don't know about you. I thought they played really well in that 0-0 draw.
I was just going to ask you, what did you think about England? Because I was honestly England played well, and we got lucky in a couple spots. There was that one run by Maguire off of the corner that I thought was definitely going to turn into a goal when he squared it across the box. But honestly, the play from McKennie, I'm not a Pulisic guy. I can't lie. Pulisic is just underwhelming to me. I don't really get the hype. You know this kid Aronson, though? You heard about this kid?
Well, him and Tyler Adams are both sensational, and they're both playing in the Leeds midfield right now.
Yeah, I didn't know Leeds was loaded with American talent, and I did not know who this Aronson guy was, but my goodness, Aronson looks like a really, really, really good center forward for the future. Yeah. And I really did think we played great against England. Again, for England to be as touted as they are and their lineup to be as stacked as it is, to get a draw is obviously great. I don't know. I thought we played well in the midfield. And we played well in defense. Robinson looked decent. McKennie obviously always looks good. But again, we'll take a draw. And I understand everybody being mad about 0-0 and not understanding the World Cup. But I was nothing but happy after I saw that game. I can't lie.
Connor, I want to ask you real quick, though, because I want to move on to that game. Key takeaways for what you're going to expect in this game, and what is USA? I mean, we're going to talk about the USA side of things. We're all, we all live in the United States. We want USA to make it through.
Yes.
But unbiasedly, what are the things that USA has to do to be able to knock off Iran and win and get into the next round of the World Cup?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that it's like pretty awesome. Like from an outsider's perspective, obviously I'm not big into soccer either, but to see teams like Morocco and Saudi Arabia and Iran have chances to move on in this thing is just really incredible. But obviously for the U.S., I think, just scoring the first goal, I mean, that sounds pretty cliche. But,
it's not.
I agree completely.
So true.
Scoring early in the game, and then I think just defending the rest of the way, just keeping Iran outside, not giving them any real opportunities. I mean, that's some pretty great soccer analysis for me.
As stupid as I made, like, that is so true. Like it really is. It comes down to the first goal, and more than that, you have to find, if we're gonna get past Iran and we're gonna go through, you have to find some sort of scoring. I don't know if it's going to be consistent, but somebody besides Timothy Weah needs to be able to score a goal. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, like whether it's Pooley, Aronson, McKennie, I don't care who it is, Tyler Adams, somebody, we need some sort of scoring, because that's America's biggest problem, is that when we get to the box, it just seems like we have a lack of creativity. I mean, Pulisic can touch the ball on the left wing as many times as he wants, but nothing comes out of it. You know what I mean? So I just think some goal scorer besides Timothy Weah would be very helpful for USA in their chances.
Jacob, could you think Adams could be the key to this game of controlling the midfield and being able to control time of possession for the USA?
Yeah, I mean, I think that honestly, I think Dave actually really, as you can see, he's a phenomenal player. I think Tyler Adams is probably the best player on the U.S. team. I really, it's really close between him and McKennie, but I know Pulisic is the guy, Captain America, of course. And you're muted, Tino. I don't know if you're trying to talk.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, what about Pulisic, dude?
No, okay, seriously. I think Pulisic. I think Pulisic has that magic factor on his foot.
Yeah,
I really do. I think there's something special about his game, and I love him. And as you all know, I really like him. But Tyler Adams, I think he could be one of the best. I think he'd be one of the best sixes on planet Earth. I really, really mean it.
Give me a real life comparison right now that you think he could reach in terms of a midfielder.
I think the way that we, for this year, he hasn't been as good, but I think the way that we interpreted Joshua Kimmich in the last 2 seasons, but going into this season, I think Tyler Leeds can be that. I could see him being great at Leeds for 2 years, and then if he wants to stay in the Premier League, a 6 for a Chelsea, a 6 for an Arsenal, a 6 for probably maybe United after Casemiro gets older. I think he's that good, but I think more than anything in terms of specific keys to the game, I couldn't agree more with Connor about scoring first, especially considering how young the team is and how I would worry about how we would react if we went down, because I don't feel so confident in the emotion of these players as I do in the fact that they have actually controlled both games they've played in. I think a key difference that they can make in this Iran game that can get them a goal or two is, if you notice, when Pulisic or whoever's on the other side, whether it be Weah, Aronson, Reyna, when they kind of get into that final third, they're constantly either looking for the overlapping pass or the squared pass to then swing it all the way back around. Against a team like Iran, just put balls in the box over and over, because they're going to go in. The best players in Iran are in their offense with Taremi. The right winger's pretty good. They have a couple guys that people don't know about defensively, but as we saw in that England game, their defense is not their game. They can score, because remember, they scored 2 goals against England. They got blown out 6-2, but they scored 2 and we couldn't even put 1 on. But they also gave up 6. So I think we need to just put balls in the box as much as possible. I know that we don't have a lot of bigger guys that can head very well. I mean, obviously, sometimes he tries Sargent in there. He's always rotating on the 9. Also, my question for you, Peyton, is, because I know you know the team in and out a little better. I can't believe how little Gio Reyna has played, I'm not sure if do you think maybe it's because he's gonna play 90 minutes tomorrow?
That's a great question.
Surprise us, or is he just not as much a part of this team as we thought?
I honestly think he's not as much a part of this team as we thought.
I thought he was gonna play as a 10.
I did too. I thought out of anybody that would really make a splash, it would be Gio. In terms of goal scoring, like I thought when we needed a goal, it'd probably be Reyna. That's why with the Tim Weah
tomorrow,
like I would assume he does. Does he start for the full 90? I don't know, because like I said, that kid Aronson is very good, like very, very good. He can play the same kind of winger center forward position that Gio can play, and I think they're both around the same. Gio might be a year younger than him, so based off of maturity, I honestly think they might give the nod to Aronson, because I've been surprised to not see Gio Reyna. I haven't heard much about it in terms of storylines or why he might not be playing as much. I'd love to see him get a full 90 tomorrow. I'd love to see him get the winner or get a goal or 2, because I think he has that potential and that talent. But yeah, I'm also kind of confused about why he hasn't been playing as much. And maybe you're right. Maybe he plays the full 90 tomorrow. But
I mean, the 2 of them can easily both start in the same team. You can start Adams as the 6.
Yep.
You can start McKennie and Aronson in front of him. Then you can start Weah, Pulisic on the sides, and Gio up top, which is what I thought is their best. I think that's their best possible team they could put out, as far as I thought. I
agree. I see Gio as more of a winger though at the same time.
Yeah, but not as pacey as the other guys, but probably a little better finishing and a little more height. He could actually get on one of those headers, I think.
How tall? 6'1", 6'2"?
I think he might be the only one of all those attackers that's 6 foot. He's probably 6.5 feet, maybe 6'1" at best.
Yep.
It's
I
going
don't
to be a
know.
tough decision to see, like, what USA does. But all in all, again, if you're a fan of soccer, USA Iran tomorrow at 2 p.m. We're going to find out who's going to move on. USA. I'm not going to be biased, but go USA. A little bit of bias. Anyway, we'll move on to some NFL topics. I know Connor and Jacob, Peyton, you guys all had stuff prepped. I need to talk about one thing real quick before I let you guys all go. Packers, Eagles, nothing really specifically about the game. I know Rodgers got hurt with the rib injury. Packers are done. That's not what we're going to talk about. We talked about it ad nauseum for how many weeks? What I want to bring up, 15 years ago, and again, it was Sunday yesterday, 15 years ago yesterday, in 2007, Brett Favre, it was the 9-1 Packers versus the 9-1 Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Brett Favre goes down with an injury. Aaron Rodgers comes in and replaces him, and the next season, he becomes the starter. On the same date, 15 years later, on the exact same date, Rodgers goes down with an injury. Backup Jordan Love comes in, flings for 6 out of 9, 113 yards and a touchdown, and he looks pretty good in a small sample size. Are we going to see the same parallel happen? Rodgers takes over for Favre on a Sunday Night Football game, and now 15 years later, Love takes over for Rodgers heading into next season. Let me ask you a question, Jacob.
So, like the parallel of like winning one championship over 2 decades. Maybe he'll win.
I love how that's what Jacob took out of it.
That's what he takes away from
2033.
The parallel, listen, the parallel of Love taking over the job, coming in the same way Rodgers did over Favre. Jacob, are we going to see kind of a similar thing happen here with the Packers?
I think obviously as long as Rodgers is healthy this year, I can't see him being fully benched yet. But I think it's the type of thing where if, let's say 3 weeks from now, they're 5-9 or 5-10 or whatever it is, then he'll probably go in. I don't think they'll bench Rodgers while they're still in contention, which they barely even are. But
no, they're not in contention. I'm saying even next season, because after Rodgers
next season, next season, I think Love will start. I do.
So you think so? So you think the Rodgers era after this year is officially done in Green Bay?
Kind of crazy with the contract he signed.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. When I see Jordan Love come in the game and I hear Al Michaels and Collinsworth talking about the fact that this happened 15 years ago and now it's happening again, my mind is racing and I'm sitting here.
Crazy.
This guy just signed like a 4-year, like what was it, $200 million contract? Like what are we doing right now? So I don't know, Connor. Do you see this happening? Do you agree with Jacob that it's the Jordan Love era going forward, the era of Love?
When you put it that way, I hope not.
The era of Love.
The era of Love, baby. The era of Love in Green Bay.
I would probably say no. Just
wow. All right.
I don't think so. I really think that.
Why is that
Rodgers? I think Rodgers still has
contract, man. It's tough.
The contract, and I don't think he wants his ego to be, damaged by this. You know what I mean? I feel like he has such a big ego nowadays that
nowadays is that a big ego
in
the NFL? Nowadays,
but especially like in recent years with the Packers.
I know what you're saying.
But I mean, can I see it happening? Yeah. Do I think it will? Probably not.
Peyton, you think it's going to happen?
I don't know if I can agree that after taking ayahuasca, Aaron Rodgers' ego got bigger, but I can agree that.
Oh Lord,
I don't know. I would assume that Rodgers probably still starts next year. If his thumb, is there any news on the thumb? Any news?
No,
too early, right?
He's been playing with a thumb injury that requires surgery, and then yesterday he injured his ribs in that game.
So here's in my opinion, if Rodgers' thumb doesn't require surgery, then he's probably going to start next year. If Rodgers' thumb requires surgery and Jordan Love gets the nod next week on, I think there's a case that Jordan Love may be able to say, I should be the starter of this team. I mean, he looked sharp. Granted, they were all short passes, slants, comebacks.
Yeah,
they were and they were precise and they were accurate. Yeah. And I will say that. But
we haven't seen that yet. That's my point, is that even on those throws, he was throwing ducks and wobblers. So we finally saw him throw accurately, and it actually looked like he knew the offense, because something else that Rodgers mentioned, and even Collinsworth in the broadcast mentioned it. Jordan Love now, from what we're hearing, just from the organization, is that Jordan Love is now he's finally come around to mastering the playbook. He knows how to read the defense, how to run the offense properly without LaFleur in his ear the entire time. So because he's able to do that and get the basics down, that's why he looked a lot better. And I think that Love going forward, the reason I said wow to Connor is because I think by next season, I think we're going to usher in the Jordan Love era. Again, the era of Love, like I said, because I don't see a way at this point without like Devontae Adams is gone. You have so many young outside of Randall Cobb. It's like you have Romeo Dobbs, you have Christian Watson. You're ushering in kind of a new young era of receiver. It's almost like you want to bring in, at least I feel you should want to bring in a new quarterback to grow and develop with these young receivers. Not a guy like Rodgers who's going to constantly put pressure on him to have to produce, because again, listen, he wants him to produce and he needs him to produce because his time is running out and he knows that. This is not a win now kind of situation for Green Bay anymore. That's the kind of situation Rodgers wants and Rodgers needs. So for the Packers' success going forward next season, I 100% think that Jordan Love is going to be the starter next year because LaFleur loves him. LaFleur has said it. You've heard it from interviews. LaFleur loves Jordan Love.
The only point I want to make is when Tom Brady went down that year and Jimmy G came in and played decent for those first 4 games or whatever it was when Tom Brady was down, nobody in New England was trying to move off of Tom Brady onto Jimmy G.
Yeah,
I think
but
it's crazy how quickly you, after 10 completions, you're ready to give this guy, we're giving this guy.
I gave you the reasoning of it's a new era in Green Bay football. There's younger receivers. This is not a situation that Rodgers is going to thrive in going forward because he hasn't so far this year.
Not going to thrive. Tino, new era, new position, new skill positions. It doesn't like Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers.
He is Aaron. All right. I mean, he's Aaron Rodgers.
What's gonna happen? Maybe Love starts next year, maybe. But in reality, Aaron Rod, you might say Aaron Rodgers has fallen off a cliff. I think
listen, I don't think about falling off a cliff. I mean, listen, has he thrown 9 picks this year after throwing 9 combined the last 2 seasons? Sure. He doesn't look good.
Relative to the rest of the league, that's not a lot of picks, dude.
No, I know, but it's just relative to him. Listen, the bad man standards, he's not living up to it right now. I'm being honest because we've seen him in the Titans game, in the Titans game specifically. How many balls do you see him throw over the middle that were wobblers? They were ducks. They were not good, accurate passes. And I know he has the thumb injury. I know.
That's what I was just going to say.
Listen, okay, but last year it was the toe. Now it's the thumb. It seems like every damn year there's something that this guy has that he's playing through. I'm like, yes, everyone's playing through stuff. But if you're that great, I need you to try to play through it a little bit more than you are right now because he hasn't been great. Have they had injuries? Yes, I think the era of Love is starting next season. All right. I want to move on. One more thing in this game because MVP discussions here. Jalen Hurts last night against the Packers. My God, what a game this guy had. It was 160 rushing yards I think he had 100 in the first quarter. The guy was going absolutely insane. Packers did not know how to seal the edge at all, and they have a history of doing that, so I wasn't really surprised. And you look at his passing this year, in total, he's thrown for 2,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, only 3 picks. He's rushed for 8 touchdowns and almost 600 rushing yards. Would you guys all say, I'm going to ask it to all 3 of you, whichever one of you wants to jump in, you can. Has Jalen Hurts locked up the MVP this season? Is he the surefire MVP this year? No.
No.
I'm seeing head shakes, so I don't know.
No.
He's second, but Mahomes is by far.
Yes. You guys think Mahomes is the favorite?
Yes, no doubt.
Dude, check the odds will tell you that.
I know that's odds though. Connor, tell me why. Tell me why he's the favorite.
No, he loses Tyreek Hill in the offseason. Everybody thinks that the Chiefs are going to go backwards, and all he's done is throw 30 touchdowns through 12 weeks. I mean, the dude is unreal. So, yeah. I mean, I know it's not all about touchdowns, but him still leading the Chiefs, to this level of production up to this point in the year is just unreal. I think
it might not all be about touchdowns. MVP. It might not all be about touchdowns. I think he's first in touchdowns, first in completion percentage, first in yards. He's first in every QB stat he's first in. You can't make an argument against that.
You can make the case that Travis Kelce could get some MVP votes, dude. The guy's been unreal.
I mean, you're at his age, maybe you're right, but
he could. Jacob, he's almost 1,000 yards already.
True.
Yeah, I know, but
it's 12 touchdowns.
Connor, listen, can we be real for a second? Nobody's winning the award except the quarterback. No, I'm saying that I get what you're saying. It's like Derrick Henry, how he's been in the conversation a few times, but it's like no one's winning this. I don't think it's right that a quarterback wins it every single year, but this is how it goes until something changes. QBs are winning it every year. But Jacob, before I let you go, I know you want to get to your Jets. Can Jalen Hurts' dual threat ability and the fact that he's such an elite rusher of the football as opposed to Mahomes, can that give him the slight edge, or do you not think so?
Well, first off, I don't think you could call anything right now. I think there's still plenty of season to be played. I think it's absolutely a two-headed race, as we've all mentioned. And I've advocated for Mahomes even against, even last year when you were telling me, they weren't as good as we all thought, whatever. But I think it's pretty close right now. I really do. I give it to Mahomes right now if the season ended, not by much, but I think it's subject to change. I think, for example, if one of the two finishes the year 3-3 and the other one finishes 5-1 towards either side, things could change. But I think up to now, I'd have to probably give the edge to Mahomes because I think, as both Conor and Peyton mentioned, just about everyone thought at least there'd be some type of drop-off in their team and his game and the overall landscape of what the Kansas City Chiefs are. But not only are they still as incredible as they were, but they look surefire better than the Buffalo Bills, who we all picked to win the AFC. So
we did, and handedly too. That was the thing.
Not that the Bills at 8-3 aren't still fantastic, but there's no reason that the Chiefs aren't the favorite right now.
I don't. The way the Chiefs are playing, the Chiefs just look different than the Bills. They look more cohesive on offense.
Pat's ability to spread the ball is honestly otherworldly. Like, it's godly. Like, he complete to make because you would like Stafford with Cup. Like, Stafford's reads with Cup are second to none. Like, they're insanely quick. They're all instinctive. They're all it's just perfect timing. Mahomes can make reads with anybody and perfect timing, perfect placement, everything about it. It's just scary. And I agree that Jalen Hurts, again, I agree with Pac. If one team goes 5-1 and the other goes 3-3 in either direction, it could be skewed. And obviously Hurts rushing upside is just unbelievable. But Mahomes is a different type of creature, dude. He's a different monster.
No, he's insane. We got to talk about another monster, though. Mike White, baby. Mike freaking White coming in, taking over for Zach Wilson, having an absolute day against the Chicago Bears. Jacob, listen, I'm glad they won because your Ohio State Buckeyes got their asses handed to them on Saturday.
Stop it.
Oh, no.
Listen, I didn't see that on the topic board. I didn't see that on the topic sheet.
I had to throw it in there. You threw in the one Super Bowl in 2 decades. I got to throw in the Ohio State Buckeyes. The New York Jets. What was it about Mike White in that performance that he was able to sling for 315 and 3 touchdowns, throw the ball accurately, a good completion percentage, got Garrett Wilson involved, even Elijah Moore you had talked about. How did Mike White do that against the Bears on Sunday?
Well, first off, I mean, how stupid does Zach Wilson look right now?
You got what you wished for.
What did you say?
You asked for it. You were like, do you think that the Jets should start a different quarterback? And I was like, no. And you were right.
Because we haven't done a show in a few weeks. We haven't got to talk about
but the exact thing that, the way Pac presented it, I was like, I couldn't see it. And then it happened. And I was like, damn, he said it.
Yeah.
Look, I know they were playing the Bears. I get it. And I know they were playing a backup quarterback. But Mike White threw one less touchdown in yesterday's rainy day at MetLife Stadium.
That's a really rainy day.
That's a very rainy day.
Rainy day.
It rained the entire game.
Yeah.
But in that rain game, he threw for 3 touchdowns, and Wilson had 4 touchdowns in his 5 starts or wherever it was. So that's about all you need to know about what you think about going forward. And before we talk about the team, because I do want to mention a few things about the team itself.
Yeah.
How do you look at the quarterback situation in the coming weeks? Obviously, White has to start next week. But how do you view it in terms of how much leeway you're giving him? Obviously, they're playing Minnesota away. So it's assuming they lose, then what happens?
I'll tell you this. So, I mean, we haven't done a show in a few weeks. Our schedules have been conflicting, but I'll talk about, the Zach Wilson situation a little bit because we haven't really delved into it a lot. Robert Saleh came out after his, 77 passing yards against the Patriots, and then goes in a press conference, is asked, hey, the reporter goes, do you think let the defense down? Did you guys feel like you didn't do enough? No, we did fine. Really? You did fine? If I wasn't mistaken, the graphic that popped up against the Chicago Bears, they had 26 snaps, 2 total yards of offense in the second half, and averaged 2.8 inches per play. 2.8 inches per play. I don't want to hear anything about Zach Wilson coming back in to start for at least maybe till the end of the season. I don't know, because there has to be some real attitude improvements, leadership improvements, and just overall play, his improvement in his play in practice. And I like what Robert Saleh did say, though, in the press conference, because Saleh came out and said, listen, I want to make this clear in terms of the narrative. Zach Wilson is not like he's not done in New York. Zach Wilson are their goal and what they want is for Zach to be the starter once again. Now, do they want it to happen? Sure. Do I see it happening? I don't know, because Zach Wilson looks like the most wishy-washy when he's on, and that really hasn't been on that often. And when he's bad, he's bad. Like probably the worst quarterback in the NFL for some of these games that he's played. So like right now, I don't start him. I don't care because if he's in, he doesn't give you a better chance to beat Minnesota than Mike White does. I'll tell you that right now. He does not give you a better chance. So like I wouldn't put him in, but I like what Robert Saleh did mainly because if you do still want to have him in as the starter at some point down the line this season or next season, you can't damage his confidence. You still have to let him know that you still have faith in him if your goal is to want to have him as a starter once again, because his confidence is obviously down the toilet right now because he's not confident in his play. So the way Saleh handled it, I think, was the best way he could have gone about it in a very bad situation. But I don't see him starting. It's Mike White. It's the Mike White show all day for at least the next 3 weeks. Mike White show, 100%.
Team's too good to put in a player that might lose you the game single-handedly.
No, not might lose you. That has lost you games and is literally figuratively holding the team back because it's a very talented young roster. Again, Jacob and I talked about it before the year, and we all four of us talked about it during the season. It's a good team.
That's the whole. I think that's the whole point Jacob was making. Was he was like, look, is it gonna make that much of a difference? Like, do we need we don't need we don't need a huge passing performance. Granted, Mike White threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, which make him look great, but the team is good enough to where they don't need like a game-wrecking quarterback that's going to come in and throw a bunch of yards. Like you just need to win the game.
They have enough assets in all other aspects of the team.
Jacob, what part of the Jets team do you think is honestly the best? Like what part do you have the most confidence
in terms of a position group?
Like special teams, offense, defense, like in that.
Yeah, one of the three.
I mean, their defense has just been absolutely incredible.
Best in the league, dude.
Yeah. New York Jets, it's defense.
If you watch, I mean, their third. I have never seen a team that able to get off the field on third downs.
It's crazy.
Infinite feels like 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3.
Even on short yards.
The reason why is because their middle line with Quincy Williams and CJ Mosley, they're just flying everywhere. Yep. And then you can't beat them over the top with Reed and Sauce. It's just like they have the perfect combination.
Yeah.
Granted, Sauce did get mauled. I mean, the first time he got it was the first time he got mauled.
That was the first bad play I've ever seen him make in his entire career.
That is the worst and the only bad play he's had so far in his entire career.
Probably won't happen again.
Yeah, no, it probably won't. Listen, Claypool made a phenomenal play, but like you said, it's 100% the defense. But Connor, I'm assuming you agree with this sentiment that Zach Wilson, it's the Mike White show going forward, right?
Dude, listen, I don't care if Mike White throws 4 picks and loses 2 fumbles against the Vikings. He should be the starter the rest of the season, as far as I'm concerned. Honestly, no, he should be
for sure. Like no matter what,
dude. I mean, obviously, I think the Jets should ride. What?
They're playing Minnesota and Buffalo next.
No, I know.
Bro, I feel you do. And I feel like White already kind of dug his own grave. Like with the way he acts and the way he speaks, like it's just Wilson. Sorry, yeah, Wilson.
Mike White didn't say shit.
No,
but he didn't do anything.
But I like you. I don't think you can start him.
You can't, dude.
It's less about his play and more about the attitude and the lack of ownership and accountability that he's taking for what's been going on.
Look at how the players responded yesterday to Mike White, dude. He's giving the interview to Fox, and he's got like 6 guys on his back. Like, I
was watching something on 33rd Team that they made the comparison to Kurt Warner. And I honestly can kind of see it when Kurt came into that Rams team and he kind of just caught fire and all that. Like it's a very similar situation because this Jets team is that good and the defense is that good and their skill positions at receivers. I mean, you saw it yesterday. Garrett Wilson balled, and Elijah Moore has been bad. Don't get me wrong, but at this point,
him going is huge.
And at this point, you kind of have to put some of the blame on Wilson for why Moore has been so bad. Like, and even I would not be surprised if Elijah Moore had great numbers the rest of the year. Would not be surprised.
because the offensive coordinator will have a guy that can actually not overthrow people. And the throw that I'll go to is when Zach looked off in the flats and flung it over the head of Denzel Mims. I was like, what am I watching right now? Again,
Bad.
I'm the one sitting here saying that the more reason you don't start him, like what Conor was saying, if they don't put him in for the rest of the season, it's more about his lack of accountability, not being a good leader, and just not knowing how to be the face of a franchise. Because it's the quarterback's job to be the face of a franchise like 99% of the time, and he's not doing that. But his play has still been horrible, and it's not a debate. So,
can I bring something up?
Yeah.
Rookie quarterbacks from that class, Trevor Lawrence, probably the most important win of his career, and
huge.
One of the best, like his completions on 3rd and 4th down to finish the game. Man, those are huge throws just for his confidence. Like to make those throws and to beat Baltimore, huge win. And good on Doug Peterson to have the trust to actually give the kid the ball and give him a chance. But yeah, I just thought Trevor Lawrence played unbelievable. So
he made big conversions. I will say on that final play that Marvin Jones caught the ball, I don't think he was in bounds.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think the refs might have handed the Jaguars a win there. I shouldn't say a win, because they got the 2-point conversion afterwards. They still had to get that, and they got it. But to put him in that position, the refs put the Jaguars in that position to have a chance to win the game with the 2-point conversion, because that was not a touchdown.
I didn't understand that call. Like the whole shin thing doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't. No, because Peyton, we know the NFL doesn't know what a catch is. But like they don't know because that play with the Patriots when I'm using it as an example though, and even I can go to another Patriots game, the Jesse James catch that they ruled
I remember that.
The Des Bryant thing, which I'll say is not a catch, but like regardless, the NFL has shown shown a history of not knowing what a catch is, and like having one rule going against it, then changing the rule, then going against it. Like they don't know what a catch is. So listen, did the Jaguars still win the game with the 2-point conversion? Yes, but the refs had the ref for like 1 second put on a T-Law jersey and was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna help him real quick. All right, let me go on their side and then get him to this point and then let him try to get a 2-point conversion." They got it. So it was an iffy game, but I agree with you. Good win.
Good first confidence. Yeah, good first huge first confidence,
and it's a good performance. And Conor, I know you want to bring up the Broncos are a whole different issue, and Russell Wilson. I know you want to bring that up.
Why?
There's one.
I don't even want to, but we have to.
Yeah,
I mean, it's more. Listen, honestly, we'd rather talk about a lot of stuff. You're right,
Good God, man.
Before we go to
taking
that,
the garbage out.
Yeah. Before we go to that, I mean, listen. There was actually, I want to say that there was an announcer that was he was broadcasting the live scores on CBS, I think it was, and he goes, "Broncos, let's ride right into another loss." And I was like, literally the epitome of what this team has been the entire year. But I digress. I want to talk about the Bengals and the Titans real quick, and the Bengals heading into next week versus the Chiefs round 3. Because Joe and this defense, they deserve so much damn credit for getting the Bengals back-to-back wins now, or I think it was 3 straight wins without Jamar Chase.
And no Joe Mixon. No Joe Mixon. Too.
No Joe Mixon in this game, too. T. Higgins, I got to give him a clap, man. T. Higgins, a guy who is, he's known as a pure number 2. In some of these games, he's been playing like a pure wide receiver 1. I think it was like 7 catches for 114 and a touchdown in this game. The previous week, he had like 9 for 140. The guy shows up when he has to, and he's taking over that number 1 spot for Jamar Chase. Now, I want to ask Peyton you this question because the Bengals obviously getting these few wins. Do you give more credit to Burrow and the offense for getting it done without their top weapons, or do you give more credit to the defense for holding a Titans team with Derrick Henry to 16 points and not allowing Derrick Henry to run all over them?
In this team, in this game, I give the most credit to the center who roughed the snapper and lost the game basically for the Titans. 1, 2, I'd probably go the defense. They've been playing actually pretty well these past couple. Well, not great, but they played well this game. And then obviously Jamar to T. Higgins was just a good connection. The offense wasn't great, but they did enough to stay in the game, and I thought it was more on the defense for the win. And obviously that awful penalty, which was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life, honestly.
That was awful. And I'll also mention before we go to next week's Chiefs-Bengals game, because we got to look at this. The Bengals, I'll read it off my phone because I have it right here in my notes. They're the only team to play the Titans 3 or more times and remain undefeated since Mike Vrabel became the coach in 2018. So
Wow.
every other team the Titans have played, it's essentially been that if a team plays Titans 3 or more times, they've lost a game. Bengals are the only ones since Vrabel was hired that they have managed to not lose a single game to this Titans team. So props to them. The Bengals have the Titans number apparently, just like the Bengals have the Chiefs number as well. Because in the last 2 meetings against them last season, 2021 in the regular season in Cincinnati, Bengals win it 34-31 after being down 28-17 at the half, outscoring the Chiefs 17-3 in the second half, holding that offense to 3 points, not just once, but a second time in the postseason, this time on the road in the AFC Championship game, down 21-3 at one point, now then down 21-10 at the half. They end up winning the game 27-24 once again in overtime and the second half, holding the Chiefs to just, 3 damn points and forcing Mahomes into 2 turnovers in that game, and the defense played phenomenally. I'm going to ask you this because Jamar Chase is confirmed to be back for next week's game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And when he played him at home in that regular season game, 11 catches on 12 targets for 266 and 3 touchdowns. Had a pretty damn good game, if you ask me. Are the Bengals going to get Mahomes again and beat him for a 3rd straight time? Jacob, I'll start with you.
I mean, it's tough for me because all I did was ride the Chiefs last year versus the Bengals when we discussed it, and I ended up being wrong. And I feel the same way that I felt last year about this game, especially considering how good the Chiefs have been this year in the regular season. So I will still side with the Chiefs, but there'd be no reason to be surprised necessarily if the Bengals did upset that game. I think it'll be a close game. I think the Chiefs will win by a score. I don't think by any means the Chiefs would completely dominate this game, but I think that I could see them, and I could see the Bengals defense playing well enough to keep it close, but I think the Chiefs win a game like, a 24-21 type game, or 27-20, not too high scoring, but I think, 4th quarter Mahomes, I think he'll get it done, and the Chiefs.
And Connor, before I go to you, I will mention this game is at home. So the second game that we're seeing in Cincinnati. But do the Bengals have the number? Is Burrow going to beat Mahomes for the 3rd straight time?
I'm going to say no because, Chase is just coming off injury. Yeah, you don't know if Joe Mixon's going to play. And like Jacob said, just Mahomes taking over in the 4th quarter just seems inevitable at this point at, like how he's going during the season. I mean, I do agree it's going to be a really close game, but I do think Chiefs pull it out in the end.
Peyton, I know
I'll take the Bengals.
You taking the Bengals? Hey, we tied it up. I got the Bengals win. No.
Take the Bengals.
Listen, Peyton, I'll say this to back up both of our points here for the Bengals winning this game. But, Jacob and Connor are talking about Mahomes' 4th quarter takeover, and he's been doing it pretty much all year when he's had to this season and pretty much every year of his career, except for the AFC Championship game against the Bengals. And I'll read out all of the numbers that back this up for the Bengals defense and Mahomes playing horrifically. In the first half, he had a 98 QBR in that AFC Championship game. In the second half, he had a 1.4 QBR, which is the biggest gap in QBR in a single game between halves. Oh, wait, Jacob, there he is. All right.
Oh, he's back.
So it's the biggest gap in QBR in a single game since QBR tracking began in 2006. And his numbers in the second half, 7 of 13 for 59 yards and an interception, and he threw a pick in overtime to eventually lose the game, and the Bengals won. The Bengals defense in the second half dropped 8 defenders into coverage. In the first half, Bengals dropped 8 defenders into coverage on 24% of pass plays. In the second half, they dropped 8 players on 45% of the pass plays, and you saw what happened. So when they weren't bringing pressure and they were dropping guys into coverage, clogging up the middle, not allowing for easy crossing routes for the Kansas City Chiefs, and this is by the way, Tyreek Hill was there when this game happened. And the Bengals dropping guys back into coverage, a majority of the defenders into coverage, Mahomes couldn't do jack against that defense. So if the Bengals use that same kind of formula with pretty much the exact same defense, I don't see a reason why they can't just do the same thing again and again stall Mahomes, whether it's the first or the second half, because Mahomes has not played the offense in general for the Chiefs has not played a game of football against this Bengals defense in both their prior matchups. That's what I'll say for why the Bengals are going to win. And also, it's Burrow and Jamar Chase, bro. It's the
the way you say that shit.
It's Joe Shiesty and Jamar Chase, bro. Like, what
It's
do you
Burrow
want
and
me to
Jamar Chase, bro. Come
what do
on,
you want me
man.
to say, bro? It's like it's this.
You sound like a
stagnant-
Bengals fan.
Literally,
No, I'm not a Bengals
literally.
fan. But I'm just saying. Listen, I'm telling you what I believe. Bengals will win this game, so we're splitting 2-2. Peyton, if you want to throw stuff in as why they might win, that I had to put those numbers out there.
No,
but
I don't think I have anywhere near as good of an argument as you've just laid out, so I'm going to let that one stand for what it is.
right.
But I do want to regress back to the Packers and your offensive rookie of the year candidate that I shit on you for having for the first
Woo-hoo-hoo!
4 weeks. Watson now has, I think it's 22 receptions for 360 yards and 6 touchdowns, which is just absolutely
In
absurd.
the last what 2 games in the last what 3 games?
Yeah,
3
it's like
games?
it's 3 or 4. I think it's 3 or 4 games. But
He now
yeah,
leads all rookie receivers and touchdowns. I think he
with
might get it.
with Brees Hall out, it's definitely looking a little interesting, Tino. So
Where's
maybe
Kenny Pickett at, Connor? Huh? Christian Watson. Listen, this is the one time I can do this. This is the one time I can do this all year.
Highlight of the season, kid. Huh?
Cheese heads, baby. I can't listen. I can't do it for a good record. I got to do it for my right prediction for Watson. But we'll move on. This will be the final thing we're going to talk about, I think, because this Broncos discussion, I'm assuming, is going to get pretty in depth. Connor, ask your question that you wanted to pose, because when you told me what the question was going to be before the show and showed all of us, I looked at it and initially I was like, wait, this might be true. So let the audience know what your question is with this whole Russell Wilson situation.
Did the Broncos this offseason give Russell Wilson the worst contract in NFL history?
wow.
I think they might have. I genuinely think they might have, because listen, I have it on my computer right here. I'm reading it off directly.
Yeah.
I'll read off some other like not so great contracts, and specifically with quarterbacks. When the Rams gave Jared Goff 4 years, $134 million, 110 guaranteed, and the actual payout came out to be $55.7 million for 1 season to date before giving him up to the Lions. So they paid him all that money, and really Goff didn't do anything for them when he was there. They didn't win a Super Bowl. I believe it was after the Super Bowl year. He got his contract in 2018. And after that, you didn't really get much out of him.
Yeah.
Same thing with Carson Wentz with the Eagles. He got 4 years, $128 million with 108 guaranteed, $60.7 million for 2 years to the date for the Eagles. And when he was there again, he was absolutely disgusting after the injury, and he's been bad since then. So those are some things I look at of like examples. And even Nick Foles, when he got a contract for the Jaguars, like there are a lot of contracts that are bad. This was the worst one. What was it, like 5-6 years, $200-something million?
I think like 5 for like 270 or something.
Yeah,
And
like
you name off those
close.
other past contracts that happened before COVID. It's like, damn, this inflation be hitting, yo. Like that's kind of crazy. Like 100, like that. It's crazy how that was the number back in like not even. It's like 4 years ago, but like 2018, it was like 150 million was like groundbreaking. Now it's like
Yeah.
If it doesn't break 200 million, we don't even talk about it. But yeah,
No,
honestly, might be the worst. Might be the worst contract. I mean, did they? For them, probably I mean, Russell got a bag, so he's chilling. Like for him, he's cool.
No, I'm just saying, for the team. Yeah, for Connor. I think Connor means for the team.
Yeah, team-wise, yeah.
I mean, he needs some time, right? For this year, definitely.
We've had enough time.
Again, hopefully you would hope that he comes back next year and he has his head screwed on straight and he can get something done with these guys.
Dude, listen, when
they're not even competitive.
Yeah, and I'll put it to you this way. When Carson Wentz, who's missed half of his games this year, has more touchdown passes than Russell Wilson,
it's pathetic.
It's the worst contract in NFL history. Carson Wentz has played in 6 games. He has 10 touchdown passes. Wilson has played in 10 of his 11, and he has 7.
Oh.
Explain. There is nothing else I got to say. Because Wilson also, 5 picks for us.
Does he really have
touchdowns and 5 picks?
Yeah, he does. He does. He's right.
Wentz in 6 out of the 12. Wentz in 6 out of the 12 has 10 touchdowns and 6 picks. I'm not saying another word. It's the worst contract in NFL history. I'm saying it right now. It is disgusting because besides the Raiders, the Broncos are the biggest. I mean, honestly, no. To most other people, to me, the Raiders are a bigger disappointment. But to the majority of like NFL fans, I feel like the Broncos are bigger because people expected Russell Wilson to go in there and totally change the franchise. He's changed it. It's worse. Like
the Raiders show glimpses of like some kind of hope sometimes.
Sometimes the Broncos have shown nothing.
But at the same time, their defense doesn't
points a game.
Yeah,
$270 million.
That's what I'm like. They don't put up points and they don't get scored on. I think it's like an anomaly of a team, and I don't know really how to
hold on.
You lost to Sam Darnold yesterday.
I honestly still put so much of the blame on Hackett though.
No, it's a majority is on Hackett, but
Russ has been dog shit, but I have more faith in a Russ comeback than I do in Nathaniel Hackett ever being a serviceable NFL head coach ever.
I'll make this point
ever.
Peyton, you mentioned this of how kind of like wishy-washy they are in terms of like the defense and the offense, like letting up and not scoring. So far, they've played 11 games this year, and I'm going to look it off. I'm looking at it right here. So in their first 3 games, scored under 20. They have scored over 20 points 2 times this season, 2 times in 9 games. And one of them was against the Jaguars in a win, and the other was against the Raiders in a loss. But the funny thing is, too, they've only let up 20 plus points.
That's what I'm saying.
3 or 4, I think 3 times from what I'm looking at. 3 times.
It's 3 times.
So talk about an offense letting the defense down. Zach Wilson saying no. Russell Wilson, the offense is literally letting the defense down, because if they had just scored 20 points in 6 of the games, they'd have a winning record. They'd be battling for a wild card spot, but they can't even put up 20 damn points. That's why it's so bad, because when you bring a guy like Russell Wilson in, you expect the offense to do something like maybe a little,
get a little bit better, maybe a little bit,
just a tad, just a smidge better.
Listen
it hasn't been. And it wouldn't be the worst contract if it wasn't for the goddamn amount of money he got and the guaranteed money that he was given.
Connor, I'm ready.
Just Jacob. I don't know.
No, Connor.
Connor.
96ing Jacob. Sorry, Jacob.
If the Broncos scored more than 20 points in every game, they would be 9-2.
Yeah,
think about that.
That's enough said.
I don't like. I don't know.
It's not something that is, you can't even talk about it.
You can't explain it, but legitimately outside of Nathaniel Hackett, what happened to Russ? Jacob, what happened? Can you tell me what happened? What happened to Russell Wilson? Because I don't know.
I can't give you a good answer. I don't know if anybody really can. I mean, I think probably the most wild part of it all, and you guys mentioned how they easily you would think when you put a reputable quarterback in a team that's decent and hasn't had a good quarterback in a while, they'd get better. But it's almost like, as much as the physical aspect of it, the mentality around the team is probably even worse. Because for them to not come out after some of these just horrific losses and at least just show a dog in your team, a work ethic of sorts, to at least improve is the more concerning part. If, like I said, if they were sitting at 5-6 right now, even 2 games behind a 7 seed, we'd be having a different conversation, because they'd be one of those teams that were losing close games, and you're like, could things just haven't gone their way? Because we've seen so many NFL seasons go that way, but they literally suck. I mean, there's
they're awful.
Yeah, there's just there's nothing you can give them credit for. They're atrocious.
Last thing before we get out of here, 1-word answers from all 3 of you. Peyton, Steelers, Colts tonight. Who gets the win?
What a shitter.
It doesn't matter. It's a total shitter. But who wins, Jacob?
Pittsburgh.
Connor, is your offensive rookie of the year getting the win? What's the word here?
Oh, is he playing? No.
He's playing.
I'm gonna say no. I'm saying Indy by a score.
Peyton, who's getting the win? You're muted buddy.
I said I love Kenny just as much as the next guy, not as much as Connor, but I'm taking Indy.
Yeah, I'm going to take Indy.
Matty Ice, baby, come on.
I'm going to take Indy as well, for the simple fact that Connor and Jacob are now 3-10 in our fantasy league, and I am currently 2-9.
3-9, thank you.
Or sorry, 3-9, and I am currently 2-9, and I don't want to do the punishment that we have planned, and I need Michael Pittman to put up 19
Wait.
points.
So you're telling me 3 of the people in my podcast.
No. Connor and Jacob are a tandem. They're a team together.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But so the cold hard truth is the bottom of this fantasy football.
Yes, we're
Like,
the two worst. We're the two worst teams. We're the bottom
Wow.
two in this league.
Bottom
So
feeders.
terrible representation.
no,
Terrible.
it's awful. But listen, they're 3-9. I'm currently 2-9. I need Pittman to put up exactly 19.63 points tonight for me to stay tied with Connor and Jacob. So I do not have to do this goddamn punishment. So Indy, you better win. I don't know if it's Ellinger, Ryan, whoever, Jeff Saturday, make for damn sure that Pittman gets the effing football tonight. That's all I'm going to say. Guys, the Cold Hard Truth, we're officially done. Another great episode. We missed a few of them. We're officially back. Going to be coming at you with episodes every single week. And like always, if you don't follow our social medias, the Cold Hard Truth socials, what the hell are you doing? They're down below in the description. You got at Conor Arms, at Peyton_Marshall, at Santino_Mayoni. All three of those are there. Jacob doesn't have his there, but you can find his in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Another great episode of the Cold Hard Truth.
Sorry.
See you guys next time.
Thank you for watching. Appreciate it.
Yeah.